was top secret. It's actually beyond top secret.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 secret government programs that you won't believe exist.
That's gotta be worth seeing.
For this list, we'll be looking at the weirdest, most alarming, or seemingly implausible projects that existed under American supervision. Which of these government programs do you find the most bizarre? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Project 1794. It seems like conspiracy theorists have been speculating that the US government has been hiding evidence of UFO activity from the public forever. But what if those mysterious objects were being made by humans? Back in the 1950s, Canadian and United States intelligence started collaborating on what was known as Project 1794. Aviation engineers were trying to create a flying saucer using cutting-edge aerodynamic concepts of the time. It was designed to go up to 2,600 miles per hour. Unfortunately, work on this speedy craft was likely scrapped because it was far too expensive. In 2012, technician Michael Rhodes revealed the files about this saucer project. The prototype Avro car was refurbished and can be seen at the National Museum of the United States Air Force. Number 9. Operation Gladio. After World War II, many countries within the NATO alliance were fearful of Soviet influence and potential invasions. As a result, the nations collaborated with the CIA to create a parliamentary organization that would stay behind in other countries. These networks were part of Project Gladio.
Britain and the US had secretly trained and recruited civilians and military men in many European countries.
Members hid weapons, prepared escape routes, and recruited loyal members in other countries. They largely remained hidden from the public until news of a group in Italy emerged. Reports suggested that Gladio members knew about several violent incidents without taking action to stop them. While the US government acknowledged their network in Italy, they denied having any direct connection to heinous acts.
In November 1990, the European Parliament condemned Gladio and Stay Behind, requesting full investigations, which have yet to be done, and the complete dismantlement of these paramilitary structures. But 20 years on, there's no real proof that these secret armies have been disbanded.
Number 8. The Stargate Project. Whether you believe in psychic abilities or not, certain US government agencies entertained the possibility of extrasensory powers enough to fund this project. In 1978, a US Army unit was established to harness psychic abilities for multiple applications. They were particularly interested in a method called remote viewing.
For what?
For espionage.
To see whether someone in the United States could spy on other countries from here.
Right.
Just using their mind.
Right.
With this technique, a psychic would potentially be able to see secret documents and events in other countries without ever leaving the US. The government thought it was worth spending $20 million to get this extrasensory program working. Unfortunately, the CIA didn't foresee that it wouldn't yield consistently reliable results. They shut the program down in 1995. Number 7. CIA Adult Films. In 1945, President Sukarno became Indonesia's first president after Dutch colonial rule ended. The US saw this as a problem because the country was of significant importance during the Cold War and had ties with communist countries they weren't friendly with. After a parliamentary response failed, they concocted a plan to exploit the president's womanizing tendencies. The CIA produced an adult film, allegedly featuring an actor wearing a mask so that he resembled Sukarno. They were trying to hint that a KGB agent seduced the political figure. However, they never ended up releasing this film. In the end, the agency left the movie behind and facilitated a coup with MI6. Number 6. Operation Paperclip.
So the scientists that America wanted to bring, they put a paperclip on their folder and that marked them. From then on out, it was called Operation Paperclip.
How far would you go to get the upper hand on your enemy? After the end of World War II, the tense atmosphere of the Cold War put everyone on edge. This drove intelligence organizations to recruit scientists, engineers, and technicians that had served former enemies. They nicknamed this program Operation Paperclip.
There was, on the one hand, the truth about the program kept secret, and on the other hand, the idea that we'll tell the public that these are the good Germans.
The aim was to get ahead of the Soviet Union in everything from weapons technology to the space race.
Well, it's true. How do you think we got to the moon? It was all rocketeers, all biologists. I mean, we helped you.
However, a big reservation many people had was that a number of these individuals were former members of the Nazi Party.
Overall, the project was an American effort to develop Nazi tech on American soil for American gain.
President Truman reportedly debated whether to go ahead with the controversial program for 16 months. Eventually, he gave it the green light. Number 5. Jack in the Box. One of the most incredible things about spy movies is the endless gadgets agents use to get the job done.
Okay, here we go, automatic clock.
But this invention seems almost comical. As the KGB were getting wiser to undercover agents, the American spies needed a way to duck pursuers. So some technicians had an exciting idea. Agents would carry around a special suitcase whenever traveling in a vehicle. If they suspected someone was tailing them, they would press a button that would deploy the device. An inflatable person would appear to be driving the vehicle while the spy slipped out. As ridiculous as it sounds, there were reports that this program was actually useful.
It looked like a person. It was three-dimensional. It wore real clothes. It had a face. It had hair. It could look exactly like the person who had just left that seat.
Number 4. MKUltra. This project aimed to figure out ways to manipulate people's minds for whatever purpose the CIA could think of.
The CIA spent 25 years and $25 million on secret mind control research. Brainwashing could be a powerful ideological weapon, and the U.S. had to have it. And when the agency didn't undertake its own studies, it funded someone else's.
They did this by giving subjects illegal substances, hypnotizing people, and even physically harming targets.
The experiments are conducted on military volunteers, but the young servicemen have no idea what they are letting themselves in for.
And since a number of people didn't exactly volunteer for these experiments, this program was a gigantic human rights issue. Unfortunately, it was executed on both U.S. and foreign soil and wasn't afraid to pull in American citizens.
Everyone from unwitting housewives to soldiers to even criminals like gangster Whitey Bulger is tested.
You know, what the CIA really dreamed of was sort of like a drug you could give to someone, get them to commit all sorts of unspeakable acts, and they wake up the next day and they don't remember what they've done.
Around the time of the Watergate scandal, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered files about MKUltra be destroyed. The evidence that this program existed comes from sworn testimony and a few surviving documents. But the true reach of this heinous program may never be fully known. Number 3. Operation Northwoods. When Cuba was identified as a considerable concern for the U.S. in 1962, the CIA made many attempts to overthrow or assassinate President Fidel Castro. This series of missions was known as Operation Mongoose.
In response to a request by U.S. Attorney General Robert Kennedy, the CIA produced several proposals to dispose of Castro's regime in Cuba.
When these covert attempts failed, a much more horrifying proposal came to the Oval Office. The Department of Defense and Joint Chiefs of Staff suggested what was known as a false flag operation. Government operatives would commit violent acts on U.S. soil and put the blame on Cuba. Eventually, they believed Americans would support a war. While President Kennedy rejected the idea, it's scary that the proposal even got as far as the president in the first place. Number 2. Project Pigeon. Believe it or not, there was a plan to make pigeons work for the government. The idea was that these birds would be trained to identify a specific person or place. Next, they would be strapped into a frame with an explosive and a screen with the image of the target.
He's not thinking, I want to get that target, all right? But he is going to keep pecking when the target stays on the center, because that's when he was getting his food during training.
If the pigeons pecked the screen in front of them in the right place, they would get feed as a reward, and a bomb would also be aimed at a target. Despite the National Defense Research Committee doubting the idea, they still contributed $25,000 to research. And it actually saw some success. However, the military decided to spend less time on pigeons and focus on far less far-fetched projects.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Acoustic Kitty. As we've previously mentioned, the CIA was trying everything they could to spy on Soviet forces during the Cold War. While plenty of miniature cameras and microphones could fit into pens and lipstick, getting close enough to use them was the main problem.
The idea behind Acoustic Kitty was to develop an audio device that could function despite extraneous noises.
The CIA then sank $20 million into a project called Acoustic Kitty. This program involved implanting listening technology into a cat so it could later eavesdrop on conversations.
The bug worked fine, the microphone worked fine, the battery worked fine. In fact, the cat could even be trained to move some short distances on command.
However, the CIA learned firsthand that getting a feline to do what you want isn't easy. While reports of one of these cats being struck by a car are hard to confirm, the program was definitely imperfect.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.